So I'm out here in my garden. I've just taken my compost out, and God started to speak to me, as He so often does. On my way back from popping the compost into the compost bin, I started to notice a whole lot of weeds around the pathways. I've got all this beautiful miniature flowers all around my pathways, but then weeds often get clogged in there. And the more I looked and the more weeds I pulled, the more weeds I found, and the more I pulled and the more I realized that the more I look, the more I'm going to find. I think that it reminded me of Matthew 7:7-8, where Jesus says, if you ask, you will receive. If you seek, you're going to find. If you knock, the door will be opened. I think that actually works both ways. I think that not only can we look and seek and knock and see the wonderful things that God is doing in our life, but sometimes we can just keep on looking and looking and looking and finding the things that are not so good that are going on in our life or in the lives of others, or even in our neighbourhood, our city, and our nation. And what I would suggest is not that you ignore the fact that there's weeds in your garden or weeds that are lying around the place, but there are seasons where you will actually focus on when it is time to actually uproot those weeds, and other times when God is not calling you to do that. It can become a distraction. What I'm actually being called to do right now is not pull up weeds in my garden, but I'm actually being asked to do other things that I need to get on with. And so what pulling up all of those weeds became was a distraction to what it is that God was asking me to do with my day. So what I would actually encourage you to do is, instead of looking for all of the weeds and the muck and all of that sort of thing that you will find in your own life and you will find in the lives of others very readily, that the prophetic gift is actually there so that we can encourage, comfort and strengthen each other and even ourselves in accordance with 1 Corinthians 14:3. And indeed, it's actually there for us to strengthen, comfort, encourage our neighbourhood, our city, our nation. We are called to call out the gold. We are called to call out the good things that God is doing and declare them across our own lives, the lives of our families, our friends, our communities, our neighbourhood, city and nations. That's what we are called to do, rather than focus on all that is actually going wrong with the world at large, or even within our own lives. And yes, we have challenges. Yes, there are things that we need to tidy up. Yes, there are things that we need to deal with. And there are seasons when God will highlight a weed in our life and He'll say, okay, sweetheart, it's time for that to be dealt with. And so what I suggest we do is that we deal with it. We deal with it in that moment. But then there are other times when we just go, you know what, that is not the thing that He really wants me to focus on right now. What I need to be doing is I need to be focusing on all of the beauty. Now, just to my right, I won't show you right now, but just to my right, there is the most beautiful bed of irises. And the way that they came about was that I was on my walk, and there's a local gardening community that often leave plants out for people to adopt, take home and to plant in their own gardens. And someone had left a whole lot of irises out. Now, what was beautiful was that these irises were there for anyone to take. And so I took them, brought them home, planted them into good soil, and they have multiplied, and they have brought beauty, and they have brought joy. There are times when that bed needs to be weeded, and there are some weeds in there at the moment that I could actually climb in there, as I want to do, and start to pull them out. But then there are times when I just go, you know what, that's actually not important. I'm just going to delight with the beauty and the joy of what God has been doing and what He's actually provided for me with all of those irises. And then there are other times when He is just literally, I'm there to celebrate the fact that there's been a multiplication, and that there are more and more irises. There's going to come a time, I literally walked past on my way to my compost bin, I literally walked past and thought, oh, there's going to be a time when I'm going to have to thin that bed out, and I'm going to have to start giving some irises away, because I have such an amount of abundance of irises in my garden bed where I have them planted. But for now, what I want to say is, what is God doing? What is the goal that He's asking you to see? What is the goal that He's asking you to celebrate? What is the goal that's going on in your life? Can you see it everywhere you go? Or can you only see the muck? And if you're only looking at the muck, look beyond it. Look beyond it and see the gold, see the beauty, see the flowers that are blooming and the blossoming. You know, enjoy the sunshine moments and be absolutely be absolutely full of joy. You can see it's springtime in Melbourne, and with springtime come the bugs. It's called the Aussie wave doing this. But anyway, all of you overseas people, you've learnt something about Australia. But if I'm quiet, I just heard the bells of the local church going. I can hear the birds chirping. The sunshine is out, and it's a good day. God really is good. Lots of love. Bye for now.